Oh, thank goodness that is over. I honestly did not think that meeting was ever going to end.
You and me both, David. That was one of the longest 2 hours of my entire life. I was fighting to keep my eyes open.
I know. I looked over at you a few times, and you had that same desperate look on your face as me. I am going to need a very large and very strong cup of coffee to recover.
Me too. Let's make one now. I feel completely drained of all energy and motivation. It is amazing how a bad meeting can do that to you.
It is. It feels like all the productive energy has been sucked out of the room. I do not think I have ever been so bored in a professional setting.
I was trying so hard to look interested and engaged. I was nodding my head and trying to make eye contact with the speaker, but inside, my brain had completely shut down. I was doing the same thing. I had a smile frozen on my face, but I did not hear a single word for the last 45 minutes. I was just thinking about what I was going to have for dinner tonight.
I honestly do not know. And the presentation itself was so incredibly dull. Did you see those PowerPoint slides?
I did. It was a classic example of death by PowerPoint. There were about 100 slides, and each one was completely full of tiny text. There were no pictures, no graphs, just words.
And the worst part was that the presenter just stood there and read every single word from the slides directly to us. It was unbelievable.
I know. It makes absolutely no sense. If all you are going to do is read the slides, then you should just send the presentation to us in an email. We can all read by ourselves.
Exactly. It is a complete waste of everyone's time. A meeting should be for discussion, for interaction, for making decisions. It should not be for listening to someone read a document out loud.
You are so right. That brings me to the second big problem I had with the meeting. There was no clear purpose.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what was the goal of the meeting? Why were we all there? At the beginning, the speaker said it was a project update meeting, but it was not clear what he wanted from us.
That is a very good point. He was just giving us information. He did not ask for our opinion. He did not ask us to make a decision. There was no clear objective.
A good meeting should always start with a clear agenda and a clear goal. For example, the goal could be to decide on the new marketing slogan or to solve the problem with the new software. But the goal of this meeting just seemed to be to talk for 2 hours.
That was definitely the goal, and he succeeded.
That is the other thing. It was scheduled to be a 1 hour meeting. How did it last for 2 hours?
I know. At the 1 hour mark, I thought we were finished. I was getting ready to stand up. And then he said, "Now for the second part of my presentation." I almost cried.
My heart sank at that moment. The meeting just went on and on with no end in sight. A good meeting should always respect the scheduled time. If you book a meeting for 1 hour, it should last for 1 hour or less.
I agree. It is a matter of respect for other people's time. We all have other important work to do. We cannot spend our entire afternoon in one unproductive meeting.
And he went off topic so many times. He kept telling long, boring stories about his previous jobs that had nothing to do with the project. It was so unprofessional. The long, personal stories were painful. I think the other big problem was the lack of interaction. He just talked at us for 2 hours.
It was a monologue, not a dialogue. He did not ask a single question. He did not ask for any feedback or ideas.
And did you notice that nobody in the audience asked any questions either? The room was completely silent for the whole time, apart from his voice.
I did notice that. I think it was because everyone was either too bored to think of a question, or they were afraid that a question would just make the meeting last even longer.
That is probably true. People did not want to encourage him, but a meeting without any questions or discussion is not a meeting. It is a lecture. And it was a very, very boring lecture.
So, let's summarize. We have a meeting with no clear purpose, a presentation that was just someone reading text from a slide. It was double the scheduled time, and there was absolutely no interaction. It was the perfect storm of a terrible meeting.
It really was. It makes you think, how could it have been better? If we were in charge, what would we have done differently?
That is a great question. I think the first thing I would do is I would not have the presentation in the meeting at all.
What do you mean? How can you have a meeting with no presentation?
I would send the PowerPoint presentation to all the participants as an email, one day before the meeting. I would ask everyone to read the slides in their own time before the meeting. That way, everyone arrives with the necessary information. Then, the meeting time itself can be used purely for discussion, questions, and making a decision.
That is a brilliant idea. A flipped meeting approach. You do the information part before and the interaction part during the meeting. That would have saved us at least an hour and a half.
It would have. And my second rule would be that the meeting should be much, much shorter. For a simple project update, 30 minutes is more than enough time.
I agree. It is amazing how much you can achieve in 30 minutes if a meeting is well structured and everyone is focused. Long meetings are often just a sign of poor planning.
And my third rule would be to ask if a meeting is necessary at all. For a simple update like the one we had today, is a meeting really the best way to communicate?
Probably not. A well-written email with the key information is often much more efficient than a meeting. It respects everyone's time and allows them to read the information when it is convenient for them. We have too many meetings in our company culture.
We definitely have a culture of meeting for everything. So, what do you think are the ingredients of a good meeting? What is the perfect recipe?
I think we have already identified a few. A good meeting must have a clear purpose and a desired outcome. You should know why you are there and what you need to achieve.
I agree. That is the most important ingredient. What else?
A good meeting should have a strict time limit and it should stick to it. And you should only invite the people who are absolutely necessary for the discussion. Small meetings are almost always more productive than large meetings.
That is so true. In our meeting today, there were 20 people, but only about 5 of them were directly involved in the project. The other 15 people were just sitting there, wasting their time.
Exactly. So, a clear purpose, a strict time limit, and only the necessary people. What else? I think a good meeting requires active participation. The leader of the meeting should ask questions and encourage everyone to share their ideas.
And a good meeting should end with a clear summary of what was decided and what the next actions are. Everyone should leave the room knowing exactly what they have to do.
That is a perfect summary. You know, after this conversation, I feel much better. Complaining about the problem is one thing, but actually thinking about how to make it better is much more productive.
I agree. I feel like we have created a manifesto for better meetings. The next time I have to organize a meeting, I am going to follow our new rules.
Me too. We can start a quiet revolution, one productive meeting at a time. Now, let's drink our coffees. We have a lot of actual work to catch up on, thanks to our 2-hour lecture.